We were watching the Star Trek. Pretty much this is season 5 through 7, and so we've been actually going through this. And so the kids, ever since they came back from camp, right? From where they were working for the summer, we've been going through and watching different things. We started with the other disc, and this is the second half of the disc with the Star Trek Next Generation, right? We're almost through this. Gone through some of these really cool five and stuff like that, right? So here's season 5, right? This is season 5 through 7, and so this is really cool. But anyway, long story short, we bought it like a while back and we've been going through it. So it's been like several months since we started watching this, right? Now see what happens when we watch it. We only watch it for a few days. Long story short, I'm gonna get right to the point, right? Um, um, when we were watching this show, right, there was an episode called The Outcast, right? And the episode of The Outcast has a situation where there's a couple of people in there. Just oh my goodness, you're gonna love this, right? This is pretty crazy. So what happens? The Outcast. There was Soren, Riker. Soren was pretty much a non-binary. It wasn't sure if male or female kind of thing. Adronymus, Dragonus. Oh goodness, I can't say the word. What happens is that the word where it's like pretty much doesn't have the couldn't identify what male or female because they say the whole like androgyn, like like Pat, the I'm Pat kind of thing, Pat. Anyway, so what happens? So goodness, I'm trying to find the words. But the thing is this, right? She was decided that she was going to leave her culture and the culture norm and join and be with Riker, right? And so the situation with that was like it was going to cause tremendous pain to her if she did that. In the event what actually happened in the story, if you watch the Outcast episode, you see that what actually happens where she pursues Riker and they have a relationship in terms of like they were going to pursue their own relationship despite the warnings that they were going to pretty much lobotomize her brain. And so what ended up happening was that she went ahead and did it anyway, and they pretty much took her and she stood her day in court and she explained how she wants to be separate from the mass and be separate and all that stuff, right? And then they always talk about this thing called the Prime Directive. So long story, we had mentioned it before in my other video, but the thing was like what was interesting about this was like they did an exact same video right later, but instead of Riker being the main captain or main person, you had Picard, right? And so this one was called, the episode was called the Perfect Mate, right? The Perfect Mate. And that one is crazy because what happens is like in the Perfect Mate episode, you have it where the lady gives off all these pheromones and everything like that, and so what it comes down to, everybody's all the guys in the whole thing on the starship is getting attracted to this lady, except for Picard. He resisted her, right? And because he resisted her, she was very much happy about that, Hey, how you doing, Isaac? Quick. What happens? Like she had the thing where so in the first one I was saying before, you had it where Picard, Riker and the Soren, where they're working together on the ship. They admired each other and everything like that. And I tied a really big thing into it, how they were like their relationship was very similar to that of like my wife and I's relationship, how we had to go against a lot of social norms in order to get there. But in the second one, right, you had a situation where the same story, like I've been talking about right now, the thing with the Next Generation. They're talking about how in the one, the Outcast, how that happened, and right, and Riker was willing to go and fight and try and rescue the lady he loved, right, to take her back. But then by that time they had already lobotomized her brain, so it took away her ability to be female in her organization, in her society. So what happens is that in this one here, the episode called the Perfect Mate, right? And the one called The Perfect Mate, you had this situation, this episode, and this season 5, The Perfect Mate. They had it where Picard had to protect this lady, and it was like the reason why he had to protect her because if they to make peace between two nations, that he had to go and marry a person who was not interested in him. So, but he was very interested in this lady, right? So beat for beat, it was very similar. That was about politics, and it was about trying to love somebody, and then it became a thing where instead of like Riker was willing to fight and try and get the Soren back, and then they already lobotomized her brain. In this situation, this lady had changed to become the perfect mate for Picard. And Picard's heart was so moved, right? It was so moved that what ended up happening, right? What ended up happening was that he was totally like in love with her, but he had to say, no, I can't. But he didn't have to. He could have actually fought for her. And what ended up happening was that he didn't go to like the point where he just was willing to be in a relationship with her. He actually stopped short. So unlike Riker, who was willing to go the whole 9 yards, right? Riker was willing to go the whole 9 yards and be able to make to try and rescue her to the point where he was gonna like start an intergalactic war with two. Apparently, TJ, say hey. So anyway, say hi. So what happens like hi Prince TJ, and then so what happens like you have a situation where it's like the scenario is you have the scenario where Picard didn't, but his heart was totally torn up because what ended up happening was like he was totally in love with this lady and she was the perfect mate for him. And he even went to like find his friend, like in the same one, right? You had the same situation where Beverly, right? Riker went to Troy, his love interest at first, but they became amicable friends, right? That they were able to like have separate and be cool friends. And so what happened? Riker asked Picard, Riker asked Troy for advice, and she was like, "Go ahead, go pursue the person that you love." And then in this one here, Beverly, Picard went to Beverly, who he loved, and he instead of him talking to what do you call it? Talking to the he talked to her, and she said, "Go ahead and pursue the one you love as well," And so it was kind of like. Wow, it was beat for beat the same thing. It was beat for beat the same exact story. So the outcast and the perfect gift are pretty much the same story. But in one case, Riker went down to fight, to go get her, right? To go and save his life. And that was my son and I were having this big old argument about this, right? Going back and forth. How, Riker, and then even in this episode, Riker actually stood down. He said, you know what? I'm not going to open up another man's gift, right? And that was kind of like one of the interesting things that was being said about it, right? So you have the scenario where he did that, and he just actually, we all actually clapped because usually they say he's like always willing to give in to his temptations and stuff like that, Riker does. But for the most part, though, in this situation, he actually he got a kiss from the lady, and after that, he was like, "Well, I'm sorry, goodbye. No, I can't open this present. This present belongs to somebody else." And then, so even though she was hitting everybody with all the pheromones and stuff like that, and they're all getting hit with tremendous pheromones, what ended up happening is that they had a situation where it's like he turned it all down. He turned everything down, and he was like, but then when it Picard, and this has been really cool. Star Trek, the whole thing with Star Trek has been so fun watching this. This is like the season 5 through 7. We have all of it, all season 1 through 7, right? This whole entire Next Generation stuff, which is awesome. And so what happened is like we were watching it, and so we're gonna watch some more a little bit after I get done with this video here. But I just wanted to kind of touch base with that beat for beat. He was very similar. They had lady friends that they talked to. As a matter of fact, there was no Diana Troy in the episode of The Perfect Gift. It was no episode of that. It was actually she was not there, and they had to have Data to protect her and everything like that. It was interesting. They had like almost everybody who was not in the one with what's his name, the one with Riker was also the one that were in things. They didn't have Geordi in this one, and Geordi had the beard in that one. He had the beard and everything like that. So Carlos Andrade says hi. Say hi. Hi, how you doing? And what happens is like you have these things, right? So for the most part, though, that was a very cool thing for me. It's been a very interesting last couple of days. Let me tell you, it's been very interesting. I've gone through a lot of like working on stuff. I still have some more what do you call those things? I have a lot more things I got to work on. I have more commissions and things to work on. I'm trying to fan a little bit, but to overheat. But for the most part, though, I'm really just excited about the fact that I've been working and had my job and everything like that. And so this has been really a cool thing for me because now it's like okay, I'm like I used to making stuff here and I'm able to talk and do that. So here I'm making a person, seeing a person right here, but it's like the person's head is not on yet. But I'm just gonna go ahead and keep working on that because it's like I'm working and talking with you as I do this. Let you see, guys, that I'm just making stuff as we talk. So we're doing a talk and chat. So, oh my word, it has been a tremendously really cool last couple of days. And last time I talked with you, I didn't tell you about square dancing. We did square dancing last week. It was great. But to go back to these stories, there was an episode in these, right, that we watched, right? But the one for the two that I want to talk was that how it's very similar. And the lesson of the story was this, right? The lesson of the story was this: how when you have people, right, they care about you. I mean, and sometimes they say people who are your former, I don't know, just like former ex-girlfriend or your former friends who care about you, they will tell you what's up. They'll actually come along and tell you what's up and help you to make some wise decisions. But it's like in each case, like the case we were watching the other day, we watched this one with what was it? It was the best friend one. There was one that's the secret best friend. It was like what's called the imaginary friend. The imaginary friend episode was crazy. We watched it last night. That was a crazy episode too, and that's on disc number 6. Right, the imaginary friend. We watched The Perfect Mate, Imaginary Friend, Iborg. The next phase we didn't watch. We didn't watch the next phase, at least not yet. We're gonna watch that tonight. But the thing is, like, when you have these things, Star Trek has very good plots. Let me tell you that show, Star Trek Next Generation, it has some good plots pieces in there. And I am very, very impressed with the writing because I remember when I watched it as a kid growing up, it was like. it was like the things that you see now as older, it's a lot better because when you're older, you see things that you never quite see or never quite understand, you know. And then when you get older, it makes more sense to you. Like it really hit home. That episode with Riker hit home because I know what it's like to have to do that, and it was having to like stand against the societal norms to pursue my wife. I knew that the struggle that was there to do it was very intense, and then I think about like how with Picard he knew the struggle, but he didn't even try. He didn't even pursue. He just kind of played it. Hang up real quick. And then so when they played it safe, the whole thing is like you have it where my he didn't fight, but he really loved this one. And she even changed. He said that he changed. He changed so that he could actually she changed so that she could actually be with him. He said whoever she changes to be with is one she's gonna be set with. And so she decided to be set for Picard. Like she did a full transformation to be the perfect mate for Picard. And it's like the thing is like, Picard was like, yo. And he's like, man, if I wasn't the ship captain, kind of thing like that. He says, hi, Amy. He's like, pretty much, yeah, but I couldn't answer the phone. So, okay, I'm sorry about that. So, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with this, kind of just talking and stuff. But, yeah, I'm here. And, yeah, so you want me to notify the kids know or something? I could have that happen. So, anyway, let me do that real quick. Hey, Taito. Hey, Taito. Or Luki. Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody. Mom was trying to get my attention, so she called me on the thing, right. I'm doing live chat, and so is there a way like you guys could go just check the front, and see if maybe she's out in the front. Maybe Mom's out in the front. She might be out in the front. So, yeah. Okay. So, I'm glad I'm bleeding out. Okay. Well, hey, I'm sending the troops. I'm sending the scouts to see if you're all right. And if you have any zombie attack, we're watching the Walking Dead, by the way, and so we're watching Fear the Walking Dead because we finished the whole Walking Dead series, right? And we watched all the extra spin-offs. We watched the Daryl Dixon story as well as Dead City, and I have to make a video of that for you guys because that's something there. But another thing, so I made a Michonne. Oh goodness! Everything's in the kitchen. See, the thing was, I was gonna do this in the kitchen, and then my kids got up in the kitchen. I'm like, all right, let me just go ahead and just do this from my bedroom. So this is like one of the people's. So for the most part, though, thank you so much. Thanks for not bleeding out. Okay, so pretty much the aims the kids are gonna be like coming to the door. So if you want to like let them in or something like that, or let you in, they're gonna be there. Okay, for the most part though, so those different stories we're watching have been really good. I look back and I think, you know what, he had the thing with Riker with Picard was that she really loved him and he loved her, but then he didn't do what Riker tried to do. Like Riker was more like trying to get through to the system. He was trying to get through the system and trying to do what we could to get to the woman, but then they had already taken her. But in this case, she had already transformed and she was willing, but then they went and they met the guy, and the guy was so disinterested with her. Like, he didn't care to even know who she was, like an arranged marriage kind of thing. And so what happened was, like, instead of them, like, getting together and, marriage and people love it, it's just kind of like one of those things where she was a gift. She was kind of like, it was kind of like almost like the human trafficking episode. It seemed like that was a human trafficking. Like, beware of human trafficking and don't get involved in any of that stuff. Kind of. I think that was the episode, the theme for that one, because it seemed like that was kind of the whole thing of that episode, Star Trek, the perfect mate, because it was like he so wanted to be with that lady, and what ended up happening was that he didn't make a move. He made a move to kind of keep everything the same. Dang that Prime Directive! Y'all don't know about the Prime Directive, right? The Prime Directive means that Star Trek people are not allowed to interfere with a burgeoning society. For example, like they have this thing in the movies, right? Where if there's a volcano about to go off, and they have a thing where they're supposed to like stop the volcano and it will save society. Well, they're not supposed to mess with the volcano. Let the volcano eat the whole planet if it has to. That's keeping the Prime Directive happening. But every time there's a stinking Borg, right? The Borg have their own Prime Directive too. Their Borg is to assimilate the whole universe. That's what they turn everybody into Borg. We are Borg, have the one collective, right? And so what happens in the episode I, Borg, you have this thing where they interfered again with the Prime Directive. So it's kind of like, you know what? I don't know. This whole thing is a swing Dixie, because it's like they just kind of like just whatever. I just made that word up. They just do whatever they want in order to accomplish their goal with the whole stupid Prime Directive thing. So for example, if you want to, right? If something happens, let's just go ahead and save everybody because they're gonna die. So for example, this Borg, right, was gonna die, and instead of like letting the Borg die, they just took it And they figured, well, maybe we can. Oh, the Borg's not dead. Let's go ahead and bring him back on the ship. Oh yeah, that's really smart. Yeah, whose idea was that? Oh, it's Beverly's idea. Why did Beverly have the idea to bring the Borg on board? I mean, that's just craziness if you think about it. I mean, if you really wanna mess everybody up, what you gonna do? You can bring a Borg on board, and what happened? All the other Borgs are gonna find it. Not to mention, whatever the Borg touches is gonna record. And also, what's his name had become a Borg, right? And so, and if you don't know who what's his name is who became a Borg, I don't want to spoil that for you because that's really exciting adventure. So one of the characters in Star Trek became a Borg, right? And they had to fight to get a character back, and they got the character back. So that character was very, very messed up. So here you have that situation. The whole thing regarding the whole Borg situation that they are coming to assimilate the universe, right? They're coming to assimilate and take over everything. So if you have a situation where people are coming over, take over everything, and that's their prime directive, right? Their main goal. Their burgeoning society is going to do that, right? They don't want to have no peace, no federation, right? So when it happens is that they come in and say, oh no, we got to wipe up the Borg because they threaten the peace and harmony of the entire universe. Oh no, that's messing with the prime directive of the Borg, if you really think about it. So I know I'm kind of late in the game. Maybe this has been already mentioned like a million times somewhere in some Reddit chat or something, but I'm saying it today. From me, without looking at no Reddit chat, saying that when they mess with the Borgs, what do you call it? The Borg, the cyborgs. There's the race of cyborgs, which I don't happen to have with me right now, unfortunately. What do I have it? Do I have it with me? It's somewhere. Did I put it back on the shelf? I don't know where I put it. But if I was to find this Borg thing, I think maybe it is on the shelf. What happens is like it says about how they are so willing to disregard the prime directive so they can actually keep the show going, obviously, because at the end of the day it's just a show. But anyway, so back to what we're saying. It's like, or back to what I'm saying, because you kind of just listen to me what I'm saying. You can also chat with me on the chat. I really appreciate that when people do that, kind of write stuff in the chat, as long as it's burgeoning to what I'm saying. Or the word is burgeoning today. Burgeoning and swing Dixie, 2 words I made up today. Add that to your rosters, children. Okay, so for the most part, though, you have this here where I'm in the process of making some kind of character. I'm not even sure what character I'm making, but there you have it. This is like how it's. There's a whole science of masking tape art, by the way. I want you to know that. This is not like it's easy, but the more you do, the better you get at it, actually. And see, my stuff started looking like paper mache. You see, the thing is the way I do it because at the paper at origami. When you start looking at how things work out, I actually was a big origami person. So when I make my masking tape sculptures, they have that origami look. Anyway, so that's what happened there. So for the most part, though, what I'm saying is like, just remember what I'm saying. I'm saying that that there are certain things that they are so willing to just throw out, cast out when it comes to against it. Usually when it's somebody's personal interest, this is when they cast out the prime directive stuff. It depends because if the doctor says, "Hey, let's do this," like Doctor, Beverly Crusher, who is, the Crush of Picard, will say, "Hey, let's go do this." He'll be like, "All right, let's do that," And if what's her name, Troy says, "All right, let's save this person," they'll be like, "All right." But if Riker says, "Hey, we should save this person," they'll be like, "Nah." Or if Data is like, "Well, I gotta do," they say, "Well, Data, you can't do that because you're messing with their prime, their understanding of the universe, and they're gonna be totally thwarted and messed up because we interfered with their natural development," which it's a bunch of hooey if you ask me. The whole thing is a bunch of hooey. I mean, I like Star Trek and stuff, but that whole prime director thing gotta go. Just whatever, man. You got a chance to do something, change the world, go change it. Sometimes because it's like leaving things to be destroyed. Like the verse, my verse is a watchman. I said, "As a watchman of the house of Israel," right? That verse, Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18. It says, "Son of man, I said, as a watchman of the house of Israel. If I say the wicked, you shall surely die. You don't warn him as wicked way, the wicked man will die. But as blood requires your hand, if you didn't warn him, he didn't listen. But if you warn him, and he doesn't listen, right? If one thing, if you don't warn them, people can't run for what they don't know, right? So if you warn the person and they don't listen, that's a whole different shebang, right? You actually got out there and you said, hey, and after that was like, you got this whole scenario thing where you warned them and then they not listening. Well, that's a whole different story. If judgment or if a attacking fleet comes at you, at least you told people. And you protect yourself. In the case of Noah told people, he warned them, and then it was like, yo, God shut him up in the ark, right? And then somebody said that today, and I really like that. It says, you know what? At the end of the day, it wasn't our skill, our ability, or our strength that made us into what kept us safe. What really kind of made us safe and kept us good is God, really, because God is the one that said, unless the Lord guards the house, the watchmen stay awake in vain. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchmen stay awake in vain. The Lord builds a house, the laborers labor in vain. So it's kind of like if you build something and it's not for God's glory, it's a matter of time. It might be years, might be 100 years, but eventually it's going to come to nothing. And that's like the progress of every nation, every system, everything out there. It's like, that's one of the things that I think about in terms of Star Trek. They have the whole prime directive thing. It's kind of crazy because they're kind of playing and acting in the role of. It's almost as if you know something, you have to act upon it. If you don't know something, you cannot act upon it. So that's kind of the whole scenario with this whole thing. That's what bothers me, because if they know about it and they have the means to stop a situation or the means to change a situation, they have a duty to change it. It's like, if you had the power to, cure cancer or warn people as bridges out, and you don't do it, you are held responsible. That's divine law right there. Because you knew enough to stop it. You knew enough to stop. Like I had a situation happen at my job. I can't go into much details about it because I know people from my work probably watch what I'm saying. So it's like, for the most part, though, I had a situation where I had to kind of address something, and I brought it to the attention to it all the way up to the chain of command, all the way to the very top. And it was like to say that, you know what, this is a very important thing to me. And I eventually understood that I got to defend myself as much as possible. I did everything I possibly could. I told everybody what needed to be told, and I warned everybody what's up. And it comes down to the bottom line that, you know what, you can only do so much. And at the end of the day, people got to either drink the poison or not drink the poison. And so it's up to them. It's kind of like if you know there's fluoride in the water and it's messing your teeth, but it might be fixing your teeth, but messing with your brain. You got to make a decision. But at least you know. If you didn't know, you're like, well, this is good. Or like the one I like to use is the parachute principle. If you grab a parachute, but it's actually a book bag, there comes a day when you jump out of a plane and you think you jump out of a plane with the parachute, thinking the parachute or the book bag is a parachute, and you're going to be badly mistaken, Whereas if, for example, you jump out of a plane and you have a parachute, knowing that this is a parachute, after thoroughly checking it out, that this is a safety thing, you have a chance. You have a better chance because, there might be holes in the parachute. But as far as you know, it's a parachute in the parachute bag, right? Not a book bag not a book bag thinking it's a parachute. So if you jump into a thing like, okay, you have a lava suit, or like my favorite, you ever seen that movie Underwater? There's a movie Underwater, right? And I like that movie. I was talking to one of my coworkers about that today, the movie Underwater. And what happens is that as we were going through talking about the movie, there's a part in the movie where one of the guys he sees there's a crack on the glass, right? And this is such a gruesome death scene, but there was a crack on his glass, and he gave the good one to the girl. He liked the girl, and he went into the suit thing. And they're like the Mariana Trench, right? They're like 7 miles down. Right? They're the deepest part of the ocean. Like, they never made a Mariana Trench movie yet, right? So that was it. That was the first one. And so in the process of them making the Mariana Trench movie, they actually made it so that they were like way down there, way, 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 way down there. The whole decompression thing, everything. So it's easier to go down than it is to come up because of the whole nitrogen and all that in your blood. Long story short, I can say long story short a lot, by the way, it doesn't mean anything. So what happens is, like, they went down there, and as they were descending deeper, the dude's suit, the dude's suit was starting to crack, and all the pressure of the water. Oh my goodness! Like, the whole force of the ocean came slamming into this dude and burst him up into pieces. And I'm telling you, they do some really good CGI. I'm telling you, I would love to, if I had time. I probably do if I just put my mind to it. I would make like a suit, one of those suits that they had in that movie. If I had space and if I had a Weta studio, like a giant studio type thing, that would be so cool. For me, I think that would be one of the coolest things, because if you had like a studio like that and you have space to make stuff, I would just deck it out. I'd have dinosaurs, I'd have robots, I'd have all kind of stuff in my warehouse. And one day that dream is gonna come true. You hear me? That dream will come true. I'll have robots and dinosaurs in the warehouse. You'll see, and I'll have I'll have my moat in my castle, all that stuff. You gotta claim it. You gotta name it. You gotta claim it, because you know what? I'm in the process of just making art stuff, that flexible art, which in and of itself is awesome, right? Because you make art, and most art things you can't touch. You have to leave on a wall, and them suckers just sit there, and they're worth so many thousands of dollars. I'm not even sure why, but my stuff here can actually move, and my stuff actually is flexible. And if you want one of my stuff, please feel free to contact me. One Life Must Art, but also definitely give me a like on this channel, my friend, because you know what happened? We live because the algorithm lets us live when we get likes and subscriptions. So please like and subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more stuff I want to share with you, but today I just wanted to just kind of share a couple of things just about that. That was one about the situation with Riker, the situation with Picard, how their stories were pretty much similar. And then also, like, pretty much that, when you know to do something, you have the duty. Like the thing with like Superman, Batman vs Superman. Talk about that movie. That movie was like kind of interesting, but he said it. He says, you know what? If there's a potential that Superman could go bad, we have to take it as absolute certainty. And I was like, dude, you're obsessed, right? But before I thought he was obsessed, he also made perfect sense, because there's that movie that they had with this when Superman was a little kid and he goes bad, and that movie was crazy. That was a crazy movie, let me tell you, because that was like a movie that you shouldn't really watch that movie. If you get a chance not to watch it, don't watch it, because that movie's just intense. So anyway, so long story short, what happens is, like, you have the thing with Ben Affleck's Batman was that if Superman can go really bad, we have to be able to put him down if we have to. And that was the truth, Can you give an advice? Can I give you an advice? Well, I don't know. When people always say give advice, it's always some kind of weird advice. What is it? My camera shaking too much? I could be advice. Am I talking too fast? Because that's usually the ones. But it's like, give me some personal advice. All right, maybe my camera's shaking because I'm holding the tripod to my legs. Let's see if I can hold it more steady, because that might be one of the big things that people like to give advice about. So I'll try and hold it steady, because it's like every time I tear the tape, I shake the camera. So for the most part, though, my thought is that sometimes, you have to be wise about giving advice. There's a couple of things where we are in scripture many times told to, with meekness, talk to people, and to try and to appeal to them, and considering ourselves as we also, brother, and if you see anyone overtaken in a fault, you who are spiritual, with a spirit of meekness, confront such a brother, considering yourself lest you also be tempted, kind of thing, and so, yeah, that's kind of thing. I'm in bed, and every time I breathe, the camera shakes. So it's like I have to kind of like, I'm gonna slow up just a little bit. All right, I'm gonna slow up just a little bit and see if I can just be less animated, just so I can talk to do this without breathing so much. So for the most part, though, because I have like my legs, I cross my legs around the tripod so I can hold it steady. I wish I could hold it better. I wish I had something else I could put there. But anyway, so long story short, what happens was, like, you have this thing where, to confront somebody with the spirit of meekness, because you're never quite sure, you never know how anybody is going to respond to, let's see, respond to your correction, right? So the thing is, like, in that situation, if you know you can do something, like in the case of a whole starship, they could try and stop. And many times they try and stop a whole, like, a planet from being destroyed, and they do it, right? Or they have a thing where Geordi goes down and he tries to stop a whole planet from, like, erupting, and they do this, and they find the right frequency or whatever, and they do it. So, like, what, that's not right. They're just picking and choosing, because they might have a lot of, like, questions about that, the whole Prime Directive thing. Maybe somebody might make a video about it, and as they do that, they might actually come to grips with the fact that the whole Prime Directive thing is just bogus, right? It's bogus garbage. So anyway, so for the most part, though, one of the things I just think about is, like, I really like this series, and it's going to be sad to see it go, because I know it's only for 7 seasons. But for the most part, though, when you have the other seasons, so the next thing is Deep Space Nine. I'm not even going to touch Voyager, but I'm just, like, pretty much, like, looking at Deep Space Nine and thinking about it. And some people might actually like some of the Deep Space Nine stuff. Well, the Voyager stuff, I'm sorry. But I'm just gonna keep to Deep Space Nine, and after that, we're gonna go back to just other things. We were watching we were watching this other program, right? And this program was talking about, like, how there's, like, what is it? There's well, there's other Star Trek episodes, but they say that one of the best ones is the Star Trek Next Generation. I remember when it came out when I was a kid watching them. They were actually fun to watch, and they continue to be fun, because when you watch stuff like that, you have it where it's like, when you have it's fun like that, you actually could, like, go back to your childhood and see how television was back then, how they just kind of kept from, like, even cursing and stuff, and how it was like, they did their best to just kind of maintain and try and teach some kind of moral value. It wasn't just for the sake of fun. I mean, every episode has some kind of morality or some kind of lesson they're trying to teach. I mean, they may not be, like, overly there, but they always had like, for example, one day these aliens were coming to destroy this lady. Well, in the last episode was the imaginary friend, and then the little girl had an imaginary friend, and her imaginary friend was evil. Okay, well, her imaginary friend was very evil, in terms of, like, they were gonna, like, destroy everybody on the ship, and they were coming to kill him. And they had to explain why parents take care of children the way they do, and why there's such, like, warnings that are on kids that the kids don't understand. And I started thinking about, like, a lot of, I've been listening to a lot of different stories, like about I listen to a lot of YouTube videos, right? Because I pretty much, when I'm coming home from work, I get some time where I can actually, like, travel, and I can actually travel and spend some time just kind of thinking about stuff. So what happens is, like, I listen to a lot of things. Like, for example, I always thought about the whole thing, like, the Native Americans and stuff like that, the natives, that they always talk about or show them in the light of being nice and stuff like that, nice and kind, and being taken over by the Europeans and stuff. That's kind of a really harsh topic to talk about, but there's other cultures, and I remember that. Hold up, there are some native tribes that did a lot of damage to other tribes. That's one of those things. And they didn't just do damage. I mean, they did some horrible, despicable things to each other. And it's like, and also like, black people did a lot of, still currently do a lot of bad things to black people currently, right? And then it's like there's an oppression, yeah, but at the same time, though, they talked about like how when just kind of swinging to they had the ability to stop the majority of slavery. Like, slavery might be a different thing today, where it's like wage slavery, but it's like it's not the same as it was where in chain slavery. We kind of volunteer. We go to work in volunteering. We kind of go there. Trusting that we get a paycheck at the end of the week, even though it's just over broke. Just the fact that it's like they give us just enough for us to burned out. Like, I know I'm so tired, right? I'm so burned out. I'm really grateful for my job that I work at the airport, but for the most part, though, it's like I'm usually burned out. That's why I don't do as many videos as I was doing normally, because I had to kind of get all caught up, with just like rest, and because I'm not just one person. I'm like 6 people, right, and a lizard, so we're 7 people, and we have like to take care of our stuff and maintain and deal with all kind of like things that come down the wire. And then we have the car issues every so often. They got to fix the car, and that's everybody, right? So for the most part, though, we always have stuff we got to work on or do something or go somewhere. And it was just a really nice reprieve last week to go square dancing. That was actually quite good. We actually had a really good time square dancing, and oh my word, my wife and the kids, they loved it. They had the best time. We did that. We just totally enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch some more Star Trek soon, but I want to just kind of touch base with you guys, because I mean, like, I have only so much energy before I totally like zip out, and I'm gonna like have to go back to work tomorrow, so I have to just touch base. But I want to just kind of like make this person here as best I could, because it's always fun to make like people, and I enjoy making females. It's really cool. So that's fun, because it's like it's curvy, and I have this obsession with like pregnant ladies for some reason. I don't know. It's just the whole pregnantly curvy lady body thing is just amazing, because that took a lot of work to get pregnant, and then it also took a lot of work to get to that weird oddly shape that's so lumpy. They're so lumpy. And so that's so fun. It's such a fun and lumpy thing to see pregnant ladies. And also that means another person is already in the world and just ready to just see the sun. So that's something that I think that's really cool. And so I don't know. It's always fun to make like just ladies, because ladies are they're the gateways to more humanity. Because I mean, like, if men just stopped stop procreating, then society actually would stop. There was a movie, like a show called The Last Man. And that was like a very interesting show. That only lasted like, I don't know, like 10 episodes or something like that. My wife and I were watching it. We watched like a lot of TV, and we watched a lot of TV together. And so what happens is, like, we would, like, when we watch like stuff, we kind of that may be some reason why I have no time. But we watch a lot of cool TV shows together, right? And so the thing is, like, when we do these things, it's actually pretty cool, because we get a chance to kind of bond and have like a point of reference. That's one of the things that I like that you have to have, right? When you are your family, you do things together, so you have points of references to see things together. For example, we did the tower. The tower went to New York City ferry, right? New York City waterway ferries, right? There's a thing where you actually can go on a ship, right? Like, go into the ship, and you can just ride that ship, and you can go back and forth, and it's great. So we did that. We rode the waterway ferry at nighttime on September 11th, and it was great, because when we did that, we were actually able to go and see the tower lights, the spires light up. Then the following week we went to see square dancing, and it was really cool, because square dancing was like really cool to be able to partake and to do that, and we got to do it again. And so my wife is all about that, and she wants to see like us do some really cool like square dancing and stuff like that. And we had a good time. We had a good time. So there's another thing too. We're thinking about samba and salsa dancing, because you know what? That's I've seen it. I want to do it. I've seen. We watched that movie called Shall We Dance, right? And the Shall We Dance is they had what's her name in it? Jenny from the Block. Jennifer. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. What, Jenny from the Block? What, oh goodness. Lopez. Okay, Jennifer Lopez. I couldn't remember Jenny from the Block. Oh my goodness. Oh man, how relevant, right? Oh, sorry, Jenny. Didn't mean to dish you like that. Okay, what do you bring up to Jennifer Lopez? She's gonna be coming after me. She's gonna be like, what? You don't know who I am? Sorry, everybody. And then what happens is that So what happens is like you have this thing where if you I can remember couldn't remember but anyway, there's a thing called Shall We Dance, right? And in the Shall We Dance, you have this scenario where it's like Richard Gere wanted to add a little more to his life, and the whole thing, it's like, he decided he wanted to do ballroom dancing, and it was just really cool. So I mean, like, definitely my wife and I think we're gonna do some of that salsa dancing, because that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, you know. Anyway, so long story short, that's kind of one of the things that just like I was just thinking about here, making some people real quick, making this lady. I don't know who to make actually. It's just sometimes the hands just make it. It just makes stuff. I don't really know, but thank you. I really appreciate all you guys turning in and talking and stuff. Really appreciate that. For the there's the let's see, it's around 36 minutes in. Okay, so what I had spoken about was just like how, just really quick, that, when you have the ability to do something, you should do it. I mean, that's for to make the world better. At least, get to talk about stuff and be able to share and to change this world for the better, because, you kind of like left it apart where if you don't say what you're going to say, the world is a little poorer for it. I mean, if it's constructive, I mean, if people say stupid things like, then it's just not going to help the world at all. But if you do something that's going to change the world, make it better, or warn somebody of oncoming disaster or something, that might actually help a person, to be better. Because at the end of the day, right, we don't see our flaws, right? We can't see our flaws, and we live in a fishbowl. The whole world can see all the things wrong with us, and they can actually tell us what's up if they care enough. Because most times, right, people don't care enough. See right here, this is the situation here with the tape. See this? This is where I don't usually do this right there. You see that? But I did it. So to let you know. So when you do that, you gotta fix the tape. You gotta fix that part, just like that, and you have to make sure it's smooth. Because that's how you waste tape. You don't want to waste tape, like that's how you waste tape. So that's the scenario there. And anyway, so the thing is, like, you have that where the whole thing, they have a what do you call it? There's an aspect where it's like, when you go to do something, just definitely just try something different. This is like the majority of the year is over now. We're almost to the last of it. We're up to October, November, December, with 3 more months, and we're at the end of the year, right? October, December. And we, according to the calendar of our calendar, even though we know that the new year is actually in springtime, but yeah, there's what happened. That's where we are. That's our situation. That's kind of with us. But just think about all the stuff you did this year. I did a lot of stuff this year. I had classes. I had people come to my classes, and I was really happy for that. I'm looking forward to doing more classes. We're hoping to do something for Halloween, and um, then so pretty much, that's the thing where you have, you're just kind of like hoping to do as many things as possible, because the thing my art thing is called One Life Must Art, and when you think about that, you only have so much life that you can do something with. Like, you go to work and you come home and you have no energy, you watch TV sometimes and you kind of like, just kind of fade out and go to work again. But if, for example, you're able to accomplish something great before you close your eyes one last time, that's something there you need to just kind of go out and do, definitely, because this world will never have you again. You're never coming back to this world again as you are now. And the thing is, and you don't come back as reincarnation, because that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says you die once, then you're judged. And that's the thing. You don't come back, because I don't know if I wouldn't want to come back actually in the same like fallen state. Because like some people, they come back and they're gonna come back, but some people, they say they come back and they're supposed to know better, but they don't. They just But if they were to be here enlightened, or ascended masters, like they call it, they would actually have some wisdom to give to us. But apparently it seemed like even the demons don't have the wisdom to understand how to run this world. So the thing is, like, it comes down to the fact that it's like, I think that really, again, trusting God is the best thing a person can do. Really lead into him. And when you have God give you opens your eyes to do something, like if he sees that the water is being polluted with some kind of chemical and you can save the lives of your neighbors, you need to do something about that. You need to go and make a decision. And usually how it works out, those people who speak first usually are the ones who get shot or destroyed or stopped, because they did something that others are trying to keep under wraps. And that's usually how it works. Whenever you come to grips with how people see things, they tend to actually Like I always thought that I couldn't be a police officer because I would find the corruption in the police force, and it would be my family. So that's something there. And I always thought that usually how it works for us too. Like I was talking to one of my coworkers today, that like even in the church, the job of the pastors and job of leadership is not to be your buddy for your whole life. They're supposed to be like a short-term assistant. Like when you get trained at your job, they give you like a short-term like interim explanation period to get you to up and running, and then from there on out, like driving a car, to get you up and running, and then afterwards you have to learn all the stuff, how to drive in snow, how to handle the situation. They might give you a couple of pointers here and there, like don't go into the the snow drifts or things like that. Keep out of the snow drifts. Keep all these different things, right? And what ends up happening is that as you do these things, you begin to realize that, oh snap, that makes sense. That makes sense. I understand, because and you learn on your own. So as a person, whether you're in church or in school or anything, that there comes a part where you can't just stay in the nursery anymore. You got to learn, and you got to learn for yourself. And the same thing, like I taught myself animation, how to do 3D animation, right? And it was like right after college. I just finished college. I was working on my degree, and as soon as I got done with college, I was like, you know what? I'm not sure my degree is going to actually apply to anything. So then it was like I started working on in ministry and things like that, which is what my degree was for. But then later it happened, I had to learn how to do 3D animation and stuff. And 3D animation is like actually pretty good, because when you do 3D animation, you have a market of people who may want to know or may are interested in the stuff that you do. So that was actually pretty cool. I actually learned a lot of stuff, and I learned a lot. But that's what you can do. You can actually, where do I work? I work at the airport. And so the thing is, like, yeah, I work at the airport. And so pretty much like one of the things that I was saying before was that when you have the you have the ability to learn stuff, you go learn stuff. One of the things that I really want to learn how to do more so is the whole thing about investments and finances and stuff. I think those things are very important, because when you do these things, those things kind of pay you back. But it's like, everybody's so afraid of money, and they say money is something you shouldn't be afraid of. You should really talk about it, and then talk to your kids about it, and really learn how to, really invest in stuff. Because at the end of the day, when you do stuff, right, you're able to what's the word there? You're able to take care of a generation. Like the goal is to take care of your children's children. That's the goal of any money you make, but also to be able to give back to society when people need it. If you have no money to help somebody when they need, you only it's kind of a crazy thing. So that's kind of the thing about what I was saying before about the whole thing with needs and being able to solve problems. So if you were to solve a problem, you solve a problem for someone, what happens is that you're helping them. And as somebody said once, if you teach a man how, if you feed if you if you feed a fisherman, the fish will live for its lifetime. I don't think that's how it goes, but I like how my one of my coworkers said that, so that stayed with me forever. So it says, if you teach a man how to fish, or if you feed a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you feed a fisherman, the fish will eat for his whole lifetime. So there you have it. That's the lesson for today. Make sure you get that. Make sure you subscribe to that. I want to thank you all for paying attention to my live stream today, because I enjoy making art and stuff. I hear something, just a piece of masking tape. You just saw me do it, and so I have classes how to do it, and it's always really fun to do that. If you're interested in my classes, please let me know in the chat. And also, my wife's distracting me over there. And what are you trying to distract me for? I'm trying to do this thing here. People are like, I'm talking to people, honey. People! All right, so I got an awesome wife. All right, so the thing is, like, I'm going to go now because my kids are waiting for me to watch some more Star Trek. Thank you all for watching. My wife is also waiting for me to watch some more Walking Dead, because we're up to season 4 of Fear of the Walking Dead, which is very crazy, by the way. If you ever get a chance to watch that. We watched Walking Dead first, and then Fear the Walking Dead, and they have a lot of tie-ins, which is cool. So it's kind of like you have to kind of go back and think what you saw and remember how you saw it, so you can actually be, fully engulfed and wise and all that stuff about it, So anyway, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you guys. All right, the thumbs up and you like what you see. And please feel free, if you would like to subscribe and help my channel to grow. I'm looking for more members, people to get discounts on things and to be part of my my entourage. I really appreciate that. right? So I want to thank you all for all you're doing, and are you just sitting, honey? Are you talking to me? Or no? Okay. All right, cool. I'm gonna end the chat right now. I want to say thank you so much. God bless you all, and have a good night. Yeah, I'm making people in masking tape. Yeah. All right, so there we go. Chat. Sculpt and Chat is now finished for tonight. Good night. Oh, bye bye.